So the big question is this: how do young men like us, who didn't listen to society, who are on our own, how do we grow and improve ourselves so that we can live a better tomorrow? That is the question, and this show will give you the answers. My name is James Radzinski, and welcome to the Ascend Momentum Show. Welcome back, everyone. So, like usual, I meditated right before this episode, and I actually, for some reason, I fell asleep like the entire time. Not the whole time, but okay, so let me explain. I'm doing the gateway process, the gateway experience, and I'm just going to assume you guys know what that is because I've been talking about it a lot in past episodes over the past couple of weeks, but I have been doing wave 1 and then I moved to wave 2 for for just the first 2 exercises, and then I decided to go back to wave 1 because I read something that said that focus 10, which is the main focus on wave 1, like wave 1 is all about focus 10, and someone said online that focus 10 is like the foundation to everything. So take as long as you need on wave 1 so you can build a strong foundation. So I decided to, and that's really what I assumed anyways, but I got so excited to get to focus 12, I hadn't even achieved focus 10 yet. Now I have gotten like very deep meditative states and very relaxed states, but it's not really what I believe focus 10 actually is, where it's mind awake, body asleep, where your body's like paralyzed. And so I am basically just practicing the last exercise in wave 1, which is free flow focus 10. And it's basically just, there's no real structure to it. It's just the narrator, the way the structure to it is, in the beginning, the narrator says, do your pre-preparatory practices, which is like energy conversion box, resonant tuning, resonant energy balloon, affirmation, and then get to focus 10. And then once you're in focus 10, he basically says, now that you're in focus 10, remember the purpose. And then he says, remember the purpose one more time. And then he brings you back. But the whole thing is probably like 30 minutes long. So, and I fell asleep because I missed the entire second time where he said, remember the purpose. And so I think I was like asleep during that time. I'm not sure if I was asleep or if I just clicked out. I think I was asleep because I like jolted awake. I jolted up when I realized, or I guess I realized, and so I jolted, and my hands moved, my whole body moved, and then my throat was dry because I think my mouth was open, which is not good. But for some reason my throat sometimes gets dry even when I nose breathe. I don't really know how to explain it. It's weird. But when I got into, or let me wait, I was just talking about the fact that I fell asleep, and I haven't even gotten to focus 10 yet. I haven't actually achieved that state yet. And I think that I'm not I definitely still have a lot more practice to do, but I am experiencing a lot of twitches. I get a lot of twitches, a lot, at least 20 or 30 or 40. A lot of twitches. My finger twitches, my leg, every single time it starts to fall asleep, it just twitches. And so it's hard to actually get into focus 10. I'm not really sure I actually might research that in the future on why am I twitching or how to stop twitching, because I think it's actually hurting my progress, because you should be able to get your body to fully fall asleep. But if your body is starting to fall asleep, but then it twitches, it just wakes back up. So that's where I'm at with my meditative journey. But I want to talk about how today is Friday and I'm not going to school at all next week because of Funnel Hacking Live. And this is something that I've been really looking forward to over the past few months. And I think that it'll be a very good experience. And I definitely plan on bringing my microphone with me. I bought an adapter cord so I could plug in my microphone to my friend Franklin's computer because he's going to bring his computer. And I use a PC to upload to record and upload my podcast, so I can't really bring my PC. But I will definitely hopefully I'll be recording. So today's the 22nd. I get there on the 26th. So it's in 4 days, but it will be different because I'm going to be recording 2 more. I'm going to double up my recordings today or tomorrow or Sunday. So I'm going to do 2 days where I do double recordings because I need to basically prepare just in case I cannot record at all while I'm there. So I want to have 7 scheduled episodes. And that is what I plan on doing. I actually plan on doing Transurfing Principles. And speaking of Transurfing, I am probably I'm less than 100 pages left on that book. I'm on the final stretch and I'm about to be on the last chapter. So right now I'm towards the end of the mirror chapter, and then I have 1 more chapter and then the afterword, which I always read the afterword because it's important as well. And this morning I was one of the most useful pieces of knowledge that I've learned so far in Transurfing, and one of the most simple things to understand, is that you are always standing in front of a mirror. So you're standing in front of a mirror. Now let me explain. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, okay? Like a normal mirror, and you're standing in front of it. Now let's say you don't like the reflection that you see. So what do? You change it. You change your actual person. Let's say you don't like your hairstyle, you change your hairstyle. That's just common sense, right? But what if that person that's looking inside of a mirror tried to change the actual image that the mirror was sending? So they actually try to reach inside of the mirror and manipulate that image. What if they tried to do that? That would be crazy. That'd be weird. That just wouldn't work, right? But that's exactly what we're doing in real life, because one little known fact that I learned in Transurfing is that the world is a mirror, and the world is a mirror that displays your relationship to it. So let me explain. When your relationship towards the world is negative, then, so let's say you say the world does not take care of me, I never get what I want, the world is out to get me, then that's exactly what your life will be. Your life will be very bad, very negative, and you're not going to it's going to be scarce. There's resources are going to be scarce in your life. Now, if you were to have the opposite relationship, you would say the world takes care of me, the world leaves the best for me, and I have all the things I need, the world gives me all the things I need, then that's exactly how your life will be. And that is the mirror principle, essentially. The world is a mirror, and it reflects your relationship to it. But the only difference is the world mirror has a delay. So imagine standing in front of a normal mirror, or just imagine standing in front of a mirror, but no reflection pops up. And then you're standing there for a minute or 2, and then slowly a reflection starts to assemble. And then you smile because you realize that you're not like you're just stoic. You're just um you're not smiling. So you smile, and then a minute later that smile comes. And then let's say you quickly lift your arm and then put it back down. And then a minute later, nothing happens because there wasn't enough time to actually make that change. Because when you were smiling for a minute straight to actually make the image look like it was smiling. But when you lifted your arm just for a moment and then put it back down right away, then that wasn't enough time for the mirror to actually form the image and reflect it back. So that's why if you have like a objectively bad life where the world does not take care of you because that was your relationship to it, and then you just get an instant flash, you're like, oh, and then you start being grateful, and you start, like, let's say one day you decide to change your relationship to the world, and then you just went right back to it after a day of doing that. You like the next day you went back to your old habits of a negative relationship. Well, that would not be enough time, because the mirror world, the world mirror, actually takes days, maybe months to actually reflect back. So you actually have to hold that image for quite some time to be able to actually have it reflected back. And so that's another strategy, that when you first change the image, first change your relationship. So first change your relationship to the world, be grateful, be happy, change your attitude towards the world mentally, because your mindset, your thoughts actually have a huge impact on the world. Though it's not visible most of the time, it's very real. And so first you change your relationship and keep it consistent for a significant period of time, and then only look at the mirror. So only look at the world and only take peeks. So what most people do, they're in a closed, okay, so let me explain this first. The mirror is a closed feedback, it's a closed feedback loop. So what tends to happen is, depending on your starting point. So let's say you started rich, then you would look at the world, interpret it. You're like, oh, nice, the world takes care of me, I'm rich. And then that attitude, that relationship is displayed into the mirror. So then the mirror reflects back that attitude. So then it's just a loop, and then you stay rich, you remain rich, you get richer actually. And then, but this same thing works if you were born poor. You look at the world, you're like, oh, I'm poor, the world does not take care of me. And then that attitude is expressed into the mirror, and then you are the mirror actually starts to display that image. And then you look at it again, and then it's just repeated. You repeat it and repeat it. And then that's why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because they're in a closed feedback loop. But since we're human beings and we actually have conscious awareness, and we have one of the best abilities ever, which is to actually be able to consciously change our relationship consciously change and control our attitudes towards the world. So you can destroy that. You can reverse the feedback loop. So instead of first looking at the world, first display your image to the world. So you would first display your relationship, display your relationship to the world by having a positive attitude. So if you have an attitude of my world takes care of me, I am very well off, I'm rich, I achieve my goals, everything that happens is moving towards my goals, then that will, so that's the first step. Then the second step is your actual attitude gets sent into the mirror. So the mirror receives that image essentially, and then it starts to reflect it back. And then this may take days or it may take months. It takes more time than instant. That's what I'm trying to say. And then it starts to reflect it back, and there's actually a down period. So there's actually a period of time. It may be a short period, it may be a long, significant period of time where no change actually happens. And I'm actually in that part right now in my goal. No change is happening. And then eventually, no, actually, I'm sure is change, but I haven't really been looking for it. I haven't dove deep into this yet. But eventually, just little changes will happen. So then that's when you take a peek at the mirror. You don't like fully look at the mirror, because then you'll see like all the bad. You take a peek at the mirror and then only look for the good. And then that is the closed feedback loop, because that good, you'll interpret that good as good, and then you'll just keep on moving forward. And then that's how so you only need to consciously control your attitude in order to change, or in order to form the feedback loop. So right now, most people are in a negative feedback loop with the world. So that's when you have to consciously change your relationship to it, and then keep consciously changing your relationship to that until it becomes reality. And then you are in a new feedback loop where you're just positively reinforced by your surroundings. And that's basically the mirror world principle. And that's like, honestly, he says this is a very good technique for transurfing, and I agree. And I would argue to say that this is like a foundational piece to understanding the world, because the fact that the world is a mirror is so crucial to understand, because so you can impact the world through your direct actions, which most people are familiar with. You can move the pen on your desk. So I just moved a pen over an inch or two on my desk by using my hand. That's direct action. That's through actions. That's inner intention. But you can also, that's one way to control reality. I just controlled my reality by moving this pen like over to a different position on my desk. But another way to control reality, which most people don't even know is a way to control reality, because pendulums have actually, one, destroyed our abilities to actually control reality in this way, but two, they've actually made it so we forgot, or they kind of erased it from our like knowledge base that it's even a possibility at all. And that means of controlling reality is actually a much more powerful tool, and it's through your thoughts. Like, if you just think about it, it really makes sense that your thoughts have a lot of power, because now I know I have a lot of background knowledge because I've been studying a lot of this stuff, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, wow, why didn't I realize this before? And I think I actually did start to realize it before, because that's why I wanted to, after I finished like starting to max out my physical like qualities, like my appearance, like gym, all that stuff, then I moved on. I was like, oh, my mind is like the next thing that's like very important for me to move on. So I had a hint that the mind was actually very important, but I didn't realize how valuable it actually was, because everyone has thoughts. Now, if you compare, so objectively speaking, the Buddha, so let's say Siddhartha, that's the Buddha. He's the guy that created Buddhism. So I have not really learned that much about, I haven't really studied it, but I know that he reached enlightenment. So his mind, and he meditated a lot. So his mind was very clear, I assume. Like, there's something called the monkey mind that I've heard of. And it's basically where it's like that constant chatter in your mind, like the constant thoughts. And so most ordinary people, their minds are just nonstop, very loud. They just are constantly talking, and they're always thinking about different things. So it's kind of like a difference between the lamp and a laser. So most ordinary people's minds, their thinking is like a lamp. All of their thought energy is dispersed over many different things. But what transurfing actually like suggests is to actually like concentrate all of your thought energy into one thing. So think about that one goal. Think about your goal and only think about that. And that basically concentrates all that energy into like a laser, and it's a very powerful. Like a laser light is way more powerful than a lamp. And so it just makes sense that it helps you move forward. And so that's why most people actually don't see tangible, like they don't actually see the fact that their thoughts actually manipulate their reality and actually create their reality. And objectively speaking, the Buddha was extremely successful because he created an entire religion. Like not many people have created an entire religion in their lives. Like that is actually an extremely successful person right there. Like, yes, Bill Gates created a massive company and he is like one of the richest people in the world, but he didn't create a religion. Like you have to be something different. You have to be a completely different breed, like extremely successful to create a religion. Like, can you agree with me over the fact that this guy created a religion, so he is like extremely successful? Like there's successful people in this world. Like there's a bunch of successful people. The list goes on, but there's only a select few people who've created an entire religion. Like an entire religion. Like Buddhism is still like an extremely popular world religion right to this day. And this man actually created the religion. And he was focusing on his thoughts a lot. Like I know one thing for sure, he like cleared the mental chatter. And that's what I'm trying to say. When you like throughout like all the time, you're standing in front of a mirror. Like when you're living in life, you're always standing in front of a mirror. And the way you like send an image to the mirror to be reflected is through your thoughts. Like your thoughts create that image that gets reflected back, and then it's turned into reality. And so it just makes sense to clear your mind and then concentrate all of your thoughts and concentrate all that energy into one thing or one like idea or one relationship or one attitude. Like my world takes care of me. I'll concentrate everything into that, or concentrate everything into your goal. And then it just makes sense that that's how you move forward. So that's like my thoughts on that. The Buddha was extremely successful. He created an entire religion, and he was that religion focuses all about your mind. And that's like, you can't brush that aside. Like a lot of people try to influence the world directly, which is fine. And it works because like, it's actually obvious that works because you can see right away, there's instant results when I moved that pen across my desk. Instant results. Now, since the world is the delay, it has a delay. The mirror has a delay. The results are not instant. So that's why people don't actually see, or people don't actually know that there is, that your thoughts actually matter, because the way your thoughts are actually much more powerful than your direct action, but there is a delay. So it's kind of like a downside to it, but it's, you could interpret it either way. Like it could be an upside because there are many thoughts that appear instantly in like our minds from a day to day, which we would not necessarily want it to become real, if that makes sense. And so it is probably good and beneficial that there is a delay. Now, let's talk about how to make your thoughts stronger. So let me explain. You have two sides to your brain, a left hemisphere and a right hemisphere. Like your brain is split into two. And the left side is based off of reasoning, analyze, and then it also perceives all information from the outside world and interprets it. And then the right side is all about like creativity, emotion, and it knows things. Like it just feels things and it knows things. And then in transurfing terms, the left side of your brain is actually called the mind. And then the right side is called the heart or the soul. And so essentially the right side actually says things, and it actually actually sends like directions over many different decisions throughout the day. So for now on, I'm just going to refer to the right side as the heart, and then the left side as the mind, because it's just simpler. Especially because I feel like it will be easier to associate those words instead of left and right, because people, I included, get left and right mixed up in their understandings a lot of the times. And so during the day when you're actually making decisions, so let's say you make a decision to get a certain type of haircut, and then your heart actually sends like its interpretation, and it actually sends a feeling of inner discomfort, inner peace, or nothing to the mind. And it's up to the mind. One of the mind's jobs is to actually listen to that input, because that input is actually never wrong. It is never wrong. And so that what the mind actually is supposed to listen to the heart on its input, but most people actually don't. Like most of the time, since we have such a loud monkey mind, is what it's called, your mind is actually so busy with its own chatter, and it's so loud that it actually drowns out the heart, and the mind cannot actually hear the heart. And so we actually have to consciously listen to the whisperings of the heart, which is actually called the rustle of the morning stars. And the rustle of the morning stars actually helps tremendously with us moving towards our goals the right way, because your heart is actually connected to a thing called the alternative space. And now I'm going to connect it all, because when I said the world is a mirror, the world is actually a dual-sided mirror. So on one side is the physical reality, and then the other side is the alternative space. Now, physical reality, its resources are limited. Like, objectively speaking, there are a limited amount of resources in our world right now. But the alternative space, the other side of the mirror, which the heart has access to, and it's actually the side that our thought energy is like sent. It's kind of like the side that our thought energy is sent to. And that side actually has infinite, because the alternative space is all that was, is, or will be. It's every single possible outcome that could happen in the world and more. And there's infinite resources in the alternative space. It's actually where your like heart goes when it's where your soul flies around when you are asleep, when you're dreaming at nighttime, when you're actually in REM sleep, when you're in dreaming, your soul actually flies around. That's why crazy things can happen in your dreams, because you're flying around the alternative space. And so when you're in waking, in normal physical reality, your heart actually has access to the alternative space. So that's why it can send like input to the mind about decisions that it has made, because the heart can actually see like inevitable, or it can actually see outcomes based off of that decision. And so that's what the heart sends. That's why the heart knows things, because the heart can see the alternative space and what will happen next. And all of this, so basically it makes sense that if you use your mind to think, it would make sense to to merge the left and the right side of the brain, the heart and the mind. And it actually works well, because when you're thinking, normally thinking, then you're just using your mind. You're just using your left side of the mind. So the thoughts are just like kind of useless. Now, the thoughts that actually gain energy and actually become weighted and powerful when you're using your left side and the right side, when you're using the heart and the mind. Because the heart has access to the alternative space, so it can actually have access to those infinite resources, and the mind can be controlled at will. Like, you can control your mind with will. So when you combine those two thinking, those two, heart and the mind, the left side and the right side of the brain, then what results is a powerful wave of like thought energy that actually pushes is actually so much more, it creates such a sharper and clearer image in the dual mirror that, let's say, so you know how when you're watching a video on the phone, let's say you're watching YouTube, there's a settings option and you can actually change the resolution. Like, you can change the image quality. So there's like, it goes down to like 100 pixels, and then there's like 1080, there's like 4,000 pixels or something. It goes from like 100 to 4,000. Now 4,000 is like a crystal clear image, and 100 is like, you can see the squares on the screen. So when you're thinking with just your mind, you're basically your thought energy is in the settings of like 100 pixels. But then once you attune your heart and the mind, your thought energy is like 4K. It becomes crystal clear. So that's why initially it's actually it's very difficult to attune your heart and the mind and unify them, because your mind actually has doubts on if the goal is true. So you just have to use your willpower and send out that energy in those little pixels until you can actually see changes happening. And then eventually your heart and the mind will actually attune, and then you'll see like the you'll be sending in that crystal clear image to the, I like to think of the mirror as like like a waiter. So when you're using so when you go to a restaurant, you sit down and you give the waiter your order, and the waiter takes that order, goes back. It takes a little time. It's like a delay. There's a delay to it. So the waiter actually goes back and prepares the food. Now, or the chef prepares the food, and you can't see like that happening. You don't see how far along the process it is. It could take 10 minutes. It could take 1 hour. Like, I've been to restaurants where it's taken an hour to like prepare the food. And so, but you know that it will come. Like, you know that the food will come. You just are waiting for it. And so that's exactly what the mirror world is. You send your order. Now, the more clear your order is, like if you want a triple cheeseburger with 56 fries, no ketchup, mayo, and then you want like tuna on it or something, like that's a super specific order. But if you're just using your mind to create that order, the pixels, like you'll be creating like a 100 pixel resolution image. So maybe they'll give you the triple cheeseburger, but they won't give you like the mayo, or they'll put on ketchup. Like it won't be exactly like how it is, because you weren't so clear. But if you're extremely clear and you are using that 4K resolution with your heart and the mind, with your order to the waiter or the mirror, then you will get exactly what you wanted. So you'll be clear. Let's just use the mansion example. So let's say your goal is to live in a mansion and actually like raise your family in a mansion. So that's a very specific, that's a specific goal. You want, or let's just say you want to be in a mansion. You want to live in a mansion that has 3 bathrooms, 8 bedrooms, a pool, a hot tub, like a bunch of very specific qualities and features to it. But initially, since your mind will have its doubts, you can only use the mind, or you can only use the heart. I don't really know how it works, but initially you just send that your thought energy, which is to the waiter. So essentially you tell the waiter what you want, but initially you're probably only going to be able to say effectively to the waiter that you want to be in a mansion, you want to live in a mansion. But the way you actually say it makes a difference. If you say, I want to live in the mansion in the future, then the waiter actually can't, like, the mirror is only knows about the present. The mirror can't create the future. So what you actually have to do is you tell the waiter, I have a mansion. And then the waiter has no other choice but to give you a mansion. And so the waiter will go back to the kitchen, tell the chef the order, and then the chef will begin to prepare that order. Now, the mansion will probably take a decent amount of time to actually cook. Like, it'll take longer to cook a mansion than it would to cook like a condo, metaphorically speaking. And then, but nonetheless, the chef is cooking it in the background. Now, let's say you begin to say, oh, this is taking too long. Then the waiter says that objectively because you are saying this is taking too long. So the waiter's like, okay. And then he goes back, tells the chef to take longer or take a long time, because that's exactly what you said. Like, your thoughts are still running in your mind, like, this is taking too long. So you're basically distorting the image, and you're also making it take longer because of your thoughts, your impatience. So basically, you make your order and just patiently wait, because it is happening and it's not direct. Like, if you could have obviously our direct actions have failed us. Now, we know it's possible to get a mansion because we see like wealthy people living in mansions all the time. So we know it's possible to live in a mansion, but we also know that our direct actions on this world, on our physical, like the physical side of the mirror, it's failed us. Like, it's not powerful enough to create a mansion. And so you have to resort back to the thought, like the thoughts, your thought process. And you have to be thinking about your like your mindset, your worldview, your attitude, like all of that stuff is how you actually become like able to live in a mansion. And like that, like your thinking is how you place that order to the waiter, which goes back and tells the chef, the waiter, you place your order to the mirror, and then the mirror reflects back what you like ordered, and it reflects it back to physical reality. Like, it's got no other choice but to do that. And there's also another analogy where you're in like the cosmic space shop or something like that, or the alternative space shop. And all these analogies are in Transurfing. So I didn't create these, but it's a lot more effective to teach through stories. So, and that's what I learned in Russell Brunson's book, Expert Secrets. And I think maybe .com, I don't know. But in the alternative space shop, the way it works is you get exactly like what you ordered. So you go in the alternative space shop and you talk to the assistant, and the assistant's like, what would you like? We've got many different options. That we've got a extremely happy in a mansion with a pool. We've got a extremely successful actor with a Grammy award. We've got a like extremely successful world-renowned bodybuilder that's won Mr. Olympia like 20 times. Now we've got like, that's basically what the shop assistant is asking you. And then you tell the shop assistant, oh, I would like whatever your goal is. So let's say I would like to be a world-class actor. And then the person is like, oh, nice, we've actually got that right here. Here, this world-class actor won. And then the shop assistant basically begins to read off like all of the stats of what your life will be. Like, you win 5 Grammy awards, you win like a bunch of Oscars, you have a very successful career, you star in many extremely successful shows and movies. And then you basically go on, your mind, your worldview, your attitude, your mental outlook of the world, your mindset begins to say, oh no, it's actually a lot harder to get, like, the acting business is very difficult and it's very tough. You actually have to know the right people. You have to, like, it's very difficult to make it into in the acting business. And the shop assistant is like, yeah, but it's right here. Like, here's the life you want. It's right here. Just get it. And then you're like, your mind goes, oh no, it's actually a lot harder than that. Like, I don't think that I don't think it's actually possible for me to do that. And so the shop assistant is like, okay, well, I guess I can't help you. And so basically what happened is you had the right to choose that life of an extremely successful actor. But what you did instead, like, you had it in your hand, you could have just made the choice to grab it. But what you did instead is you started to think about the negative sides. And these negative thoughts are so instilled in us that they just seem normal now. But if you just think about it, those negative thoughts just are absolutely useless. Like, there is no positive benefit to those negative thoughts. And me just thinking about this, the simple fact that we have negative thoughts that basically hold us back from taking action, direct action. So negative thoughts definitely hold us back from taking direct action. But then again, those negative thoughts are like thoughts, and they're sending thought energy. So then they're also holding us back from that outer intention, that alternative space action. So just the fact that we have negative thoughts, like, there is no benefit to negative thoughts. Now, there's no benefit in the modern world to negative thoughts, because we don't have to like run away from, like, we don't have to fight for our survival anymore. Like, negative thoughts were formed to be in our evolution because we needed to be able to survive. Like, literally, you have to survive in the wild, fighting against wild animals. So that's that's the only use for negative thoughts. And I don't even see a good use for it. I guess, like, it's negative to go into a lion's den, but I still can't see a good use for negative thoughts. And negative thoughts have been instilled in our brains, in our worldview, by pendulums. And it's those who are successful that do the inner work. Like Siddhartha, who is the Buddha, did the inner work. Like, he is one of, like, you can count the amount of people who have reached enlightenment on, like, the hands of, like, on the, like, within one hand or something like that, in the fingers of one hand. Like, there's a very small amount of people who've reached enlightenment, less than 10. And so Siddhartha has definitely done the inner work. He reached enlightenment, and he, like, got rid of those negative thoughts. Now, he, like, absolutely destroyed those negative thoughts every single time they came in, because he recognized that those only hold you back. There are no benefit to that. And so he definitely, like, abolish them, because those are just instilled in us by pendulums, and their pendulums cannot benefit from us going our own way and achieving massive success. They benefit from us slaving away our entire lives, stuck in the same place for our entire lives. So that's what they do, and they instill negative thoughts. And you could go your own way, become a great actor, but the pendulum does not benefit from that energy exchange. So what the pendulum does is actually instills negative thoughts into your mind, like, oh, it's really difficult to become a great actor. And so it basically traps you in your own place through your mindset. And I'm actually beginning to think that I'm actually beginning to believe that your like mind, your out like attitude to the world, your like mental, all of that stuff, your worldview, that is more important than your direct actions. And I'm starting to believe it in that, because it just makes sense. Because first of all, your mind, your thinking, your thought patterns actually affect your direct actions. Because if you think that it's like impossible to become a great actor, well, then that's going to affect your your actual direct actions. You're going to be thinking that, oh, well, if it's impossible, I might as well not even try. I might as well not even do direct action and actually practice my acting skills. Like, I might as well not even attempt it. So that's one way your thoughts actually impact your reality. But also the more like powerful way is through the alternative space. Like, since your mind actually can, like, you're sending energy to the alternative space, and that helps to manifest that. And it works both ways. Like, you're manifesting, if you have negative thoughts, you're manifesting a negative world. So that's my thoughts on all that. But let me get some water. All right. So next episode is actually going to be Transurfing Principles. So if you have been keeping up, go watch that episode. And if you enjoy listening to this kind of stuff about transurfing and the mirrors and all that stuff, go watch that, listen to that episode tomorrow. And I'm actually going to record it. So I'm at right now. All right, let me explain. So maybe a week ago or a couple weeks ago, I have had Transurfing Principles episodes. So I've had 6 Transurfing Principles episodes in the past, and every single, like, a lot of the times that I record those, I record a normal episode like this in first, and then right after that, I record the Transurfing Principles. So I like do 2 episodes in one day, and I think I've done this like 3 times total, because I prepare for upcoming like trips or times where I can't record. And so that's basically what I'm going to do today and tomorrow, because that is, well, I already told about this because I'm going to Funnel Hacking Live, but before I would actually just record the Transurfing Principles episode. Like, I would record back to back. Like, I would literally finish one and then go straight away to the next one. Now, the issue is that with that is my brain is already kind of like beginning to be like fatigued. And so I feel like my first episode is like 100% possible best quality of my skill level at that time. But that second episode that I recorded in that day is maybe like 95, 80%, 70% of its of its quality that it could be at. And so I feel like the episode loses its quality if I do 2 episodes in one day, which I actually have to do 2 episodes in one day a lot of times, because I post daily. So I actually, if I miss a day, I actually have to like make up for it by recording 2 in a day. And I always make up for it beforehand. And so what I'm actually planning on doing to kind of compensate for that need to record 2 in one day is since I started meditating right before my podcast, and I actually got so much value and benefit out of that, because it's extremely like, it cleared my mind so much, and it actually helped my mind rest. Like, it helped me rest. Like, I think meditation actually helps you like recover mentally from the day. It's a good like rest for the mind. And then and especially for the body, but I think what I'm actually going to do is right after this episode, I'm actually going to go back upstairs and get another 30-minute meditation session. So I'll have 4 meditations in one day today, and I'm just going to focus on my just focus on clearing my mind, because hopefully that will help me get into another like meditative, super focused state so I can have another 100% quality episode. And we'll find out on tomorrow's episode 66, it's going to be, if it actually works out or not. And that's the thing. Like I'm actually, what was I even saying? I just got a complete brain fog, but I want to talk about I'm going to talk about this one thing I learned about in transfer. I'm going to completely shift the topic because I lost my train of thought, and I'm pretty sure I've just finished like that thought, and that's why I lost my train of thought. But I want to talk about slides, and I'm not talking about like your goal. I'm talking about like your personal slides where your how you perceive yourself. So let's say you perceive yourself negatively and you have no confidence, low self-esteem. That's a negative side. But if you perceive yourself, if you are like that, but then you perceive yourself as high self-esteem, high confidence, then the world is like a mirror. So it has to reflect it back. Like that's your order. It has to reflect it back. So then you will become like that. And if you run that slide, and you can actually, there's a way to speed it up and make it more effective. So you run that slide while talking to absolute strangers. And actually, like this, I was doing this a little while back, and I actually found that I am a lot more confident, and my social anxiety has eased up a lot. And I actually got verification of this from another person today. One of my friends actually said that he is in a class where, like in school, where it's like journalism, and you basically have to go out into public and talk to absolute strangers about certain prompts and like write about what they said. And he said that like absolutely destroyed his social anxiety. Like not destroyed, but like cured him of his social anxiety. Like he has none anymore because he just went out and talked to random strangers. And that is so beneficial to know, because that when you have social anxiety, you're basically creating a lot of excess potential. And when you just take action, you're just destroying that excess potential. So then you like get more comfortable and you like ease up, and you're actually able to be calm in social situations. And then another thing is, if you're running a slide while doing that, then you'll actually get a lot more benefits, like personally, and you'll actually get more like that slide. And so that's actually, when I'm at Florida, there's going to be a lot of people, and there's going to be like a networking. There's going to be a lot of networking, and I've never networked, and networking is actually like a big fear of mine, or not necessarily a fear, but like it's something outside my comfort zone. It's uncomfortable for me to just talk to strangers. I am introverted, but I don't blame it on that. I blame it on the fact that I just never did it growing up, and I was like, I spent a lot of my childhood playing video games from like 5th grade to like junior year or sophomore year. Like that like impacted me a lot, because I didn't really have the social experiences that I should have helped me get that. And I feel like a lot of people are like that, and a lot of people could benefit from just going out and talking to strangers, like my friend did. And that's another thing. There's one of the classes that I wanted to take, like the only class that I actually wanted to take my senior year, was called like speech communication. And it was basically just a class. It was an English class all about public speaking and practicing your public speaking. So that's why I wanted to practice that, because that is like that's an amazing skill. Like that is outside of my comfort zone, and it's just a great skill to have. And unfortunately, it was only like provided second semester, and I'm graduating in first semester, so I won't actually be able to get that class. But that's another thing that is a thing that we could people could do to increase their comfort zone. Like a little while back, I was really into increasing my comfort zone. I would cold email companies, I would cold call companies, and then I would go in person and actually talk to people in businesses. And like those were way outside of my comfort zone, and my comfort zone expanded so much. And like I actually was talking about this stuff in my podcasts, like in my early episodes of podcasts. And then after that, me and my friend, or we discovered another way to expand our comfort zone, which was cold approaching girls. And so we went to the mall and cold approached girls. And we did that over 3 different days, like very far apart. And then I kind of just stopped. I don't know about my friend, but I stopped expanding my comfort zone for quite some time. But I think that Florida is going to be a very good spot to expand your comfort zone, because like how far away from your life can you get? Like you're not going to see any of these people ever again. So there's like no downside, like because I live in Chicago, so I'm flying all the way down to Florida, all the way across the country. So yeah, I'm never going to see these guys again. And I was okay like talking to people just one town over, like at the mall. And so that's like an extremely beneficial time to do all the comfort zone challenges. And like expanding your comfort zone, I'm going to get into this again, is so beneficial. And I actually haven't done it in a while, but in my class, we actually, speaking of public speaking, me and my friend actually are in a business class, business incubator, where we actually have had to do a few presentations in front of the class, and like 3 maybe. And we actually had one yesterday, and it was like I was fairly comfortable. Like I wasn't extremely uncomfortable like how I was like last year. Last year when I would start talking, I would have to talk very quickly, because I would literally start, like I would get a rock in my throat and I'd literally start crying. Not like crying for real, but I would start like my chest would compress, getting super scared. Like it was just bad. And I was fairly comfortable doing it. And that's just from simply expanding my comfort zone, doing like cold approaching and all that stuff. And I'm going to be gone for like 5 days at Florida. So that's like 5 days to expand my comfort zone, doing a lot of stuff. So it's going to be extremely beneficial, extremely valuable. And that, like, I was thinking about maybe talking to a few strangers every single day, starting the first day we got there, because we're actually planning on going to Costco straight from the airport. And I was thinking of like the thought popped in my head just now of like approaching random strangers at the Costco and just starting to talk to them. But I don't know like what I would say, because it's weird to just go up to them and say nothing, or like go up to them and just start talking gibberish. And so I would have to have like a specific reason to talk to them. Like when I would go up to the girls, the reason would be getting their number, which I guess is still weird, but I don't know. Like that, well, I'll figure that out, because that would be very good to expand my comfort zone and actually get me more comfortable in those public situations. So I think I'll actually do some of that stuff, and I'll document the entire journey, because hopefully I'll be able to find an hour every day. And that's one thing I was thinking about. As you guys know, I'm very into routine, and I have a very strict routine here at home where I basically have my entire day filled up with stuff. And every single thing in my routine is beneficial for my future. Like it actually helps me move towards my goal. And I was kind of thinking about what my routine should be in Florida, because we're gonna have the event usually starts at 8 a.m. and they said it goes on until like the late afternoon. So I'm gonna have to have 1 hour allotted in the afternoon every single day or probably like an hour and a half to record and upload and edit. And then I'm going to have another hour like, or I'm gonna so okay, so I have a quite a few things in my routine, my daily routine, but I actually I kind of understood the fact that I might not be able to do all of the stuff. Like I'm not gonna obviously I'm not gonna be able to do my balancing on the medicine ball because I'm not gonna bring the 10-pound medicine ball all the way to Florida with me. So there are some things that are gonna have to get cut. But I was thinking of creating a like hierarchy or like numbering which ones were the most valuable, most important to actually keep. And for me, the most important thing to keep in my routine is the podcast. Like the most important thing for me is the podcast. Like I would rather podcast than go to the gym at Florida because I can get both at home, but at Florida I know a lot of my day is going to be spent up at the conference. And so I may not be able to get both. And if it comes down to it, I'm going to choose the podcast over the gym because I know that these 5 days that I'm at Florida are going to be like a very high quality episodes because they're going to be content packed because I'm going to be in a brand new experience. I'm literally going to be in a different environment, like an entirely different state, an entirely different part of the country. My life will be radically changed. Just objectively speaking, like I'm going to go from Chicago to Florida. So on that part, but also I'm going to be learning from, like, it's not every day you get to learn from like the best of the best, like professionals, like amazing entrepreneurs. And so that's basically my plans. And that's the end of the episode. So to wrap things up, don't forget to download your favorite episodes and subscribe to the Ascend Momentum Show. But before you guys leave, make sure to look up at the sky.